Well, good morning, everyone. It is an early Saturday morning in July, and I am heading to my local dealership. If you have a Dyna and you need to do motor mounts, give this a quick listen. So my bike is a 2014 Dyna Lowrider FXDL. It's got 31,000 miles on it, and over the last few hundred miles I noticed the front was feeling a little sloppy on deceleration. A little wobbly, but not a tire wobble. And after a little research, I determined it was most likely the motor mount. Also called the isolator. The front isolator. So I ended up buying one online. Honestly, I don't know why I didn't buy the Harley brand. Probably because it's about $40 more. But the one I bought had a lot of positive reviews on the popular online bike parts stores. So I felt fine. I mean, it's a motor mount, right? It's steel and rubber. Kinda hard to mess that up, you'd think, but not so fast. So I installed the front mount. It definitely made the bike feel better. It still didn't feel like I expected it would from when I first got the bike, but I thought maybe I was just being a little picky. And in doing research on it, people had suggested if you're going to change the front, you may as well do the rear, considering the bike's age. And that way you're starting out with a fresh pair of mounts that have the same strength, so to speak. Some had suggested if you have a new front mount and an old rear mount, it might hasten the wear of the rear one. I don't know about that, but I just like the idea of doing them both at the same time. Since I didn't have any major issue with the front mount that I bought the rear mount from the same manufacturer, and I will put in the description exactly what I bought and who made it, etc. The front mount was very, very easy to change, like 15 minutes. Not so easy for the rear. The bike doesn't have to be lifted. In fact, it's probably better not to lift it because you need to be able to support the engine/transmission, but also you'll need to put a second jack on the mount itself to make getting it off and back on a lot easier. Otherwise, there will be a lot of pressure on the bolts. You won't be able to pull them out, and you certainly won't be able to get them back in if the holes aren't lined up perfectly. I eventually got it done and buttoned everything up, went out for a ride, and very quickly, like in the first quarter mile, as soon as I hit a moderate bump or dip in the road, bang, I could feel a thud in the frame, in the foot pegs, under my behind, and I was like, whoa, what in the world was that? Just my imagination? No, I wasn't that fortunate. So in just a few miles, it happened a number of times, and I realized we got a problem here. So U-turn, start heading back home. It happened a number of times more. I was actually concerned if I was going to make it home. So got home, put the bike up in the air, went over every square inch, and with a flashlight, a mirror, the works. Hey, look at that. Little black bear cub. Oh, that's pretty cool. You don't see that every day. I need to get some air. I'm getting foggy in this visor. Okay, so everything looked just fine. I was looking all over for any evidence of anything hitting something else. Couldn't find anything. The bolts were all tight. I mean, everything looked spot on. Posted a question on HD forums. No one really had anything thoughtful about it. I just did a general Google search on, you know, Dyna, motor mount, bang, and found something immediately. I found the exact manufacturer part that I bought, and it was listed on Amazon with less than stellar reviews, and I'm being kind. And 3 different people said the bike is banging around. It feels unsafe. The mount, you know, one guy said the rubber on the mount is too soft. It is not up to OEM spec. And, you know, my jaw about hit the table because this is exactly the problem I was having. That moment, I was like, all right, that's it. That thing's got to come off. It's obviously faulty. And it's interesting, obviously there were people with good reviews, so maybe in the line of Dynas, you know, there are different clearances on some of the bikes. Maybe, just to throw an example, a Fat Bob or a Fat Boy or a Wide Glide is different than a low rider in some respects, so you wouldn't have that issue on some of those. Anyway, fortunately they had one of them OEM mounts in stock at my local dealer. I grabbed it. It was about $35 more, which, you know, isn't too bad. Did the whole replacement yesterday. As soon as I took off the aftermarket mount, I could see 2 spots where it was clearly being hit by something. And that something is the bracket that the mount is bolted into. Now that mount should never touch that bracket like that. But going back to the reviewer who said the mount was too soft, well, that would explain it. Because there's movement within that mount such that it's actually hitting something it shouldn't hit. It's moving too much. I installed the OEM mount, put everything all back together, perfect, torqued everything like I did before, took it out, problem solved. Bike feels great on the rear there, no issue at all with anything unusual. So having done all that, I said, you know what, I just feel like pulling off the front mount and putting on the OEM mount. I'm not having a problem with the front specifically that I know of, but maybe it won't last as long. Maybe it is also a little too soft. I just, you know, burn me once on the back one, you're done. You're coming off my bike. I'm actually heading to get that front mount right now. Many times you can order Harley parts from some online places, online dealerships, and they'll give you 20% off. So I did order one and immediately got a note back that it was on national back order until November. So that's 4 months from now. Called my local dealer back, hey, do you have a front mount? They're like, yep, we got one. I'll be there first thing in the morning. Generally, I always go with Harley parts. When it comes to anything for the engine, or in this case, the chassis, you know, even things like forward controls, heated grips and all that, I definitely just like to stick with the manufacturer. And lesson learned when it comes to a motor mount, from now on, OEM, baby. So if you are thinking about doing your mounts, you've been warned. You can, you know, and there are certainly good products out there. The Harley design is not great on the front because it's sitting under the oil filter. It's almost impossible to keep oil off of that thing when you do an oil change. But so it's almost like a wear item at this point. But I can live with every 30,000 miles. So there you have it, folks. It wasn't a good week for me in the garage. I feel like I got beat up from more hours than I wanted working on my Harley. But the end result is it's back on the road and putting a smile on my face. Thanks for watching. Till next time.